Good morning, and welcome to Beware of Spoilers. I am Adam. So, what we're here to talk about is episode 4 of the final season of The Flash, which I watched last night. And I am needing to get something to insulate those bottles of soda that I keep in my backseat so they stop sliding all over the place when I turn. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. What I'm here to talk about is the issue is I'm enjoying the show, and I'm happy they killed off Chilban, because that character has run its course for me. I know he's probably not dead, because they can always bring people back, and it's presumed dead in science fiction is never actually dead, so you got to keep that in mind too. But I think that he, I hope he stays dead, but I'm not going to be surprised when he comes back next week. I think that the whole thing, like, I wish we had gotten to see an actual crossover, and look, there's a lot of things that went into this issue that I have with the Red Death, being Ryan Wilder, and it's like, look, it has nothing to do with it being Batwoman. I'd be okay with it being Batwoman. It's just they're trying to build it as an emotional thing, that like, oh shit, this character that we know has turned and is now evil, and it's like, okay, cool, but like, Barry doesn't have a relationship with Ryan Wilder. Allegedly, Iris does, but I don't remember ever seeing that. Like, I don't think we ever saw these characters meet except for at Iris's engagement party to Thawne in the alternate timeline that got wiped. But we don't see that here. And I'm like, this seems a little strange to me. And look, there's a lot of things here that don't exactly work out. Like, and it comes down to Ruby Rose was ousted from the show, allegedly, and then replaced with Ryan Wilder, which, alright, look, she is, she was given that, and she did well on her own show. She did good on Batwoman. And then on top of it, we had the pandemic, which caused issues with production that ended up where we couldn't do the same crossovers because of crew and cross-contamination and, all of that, where it's like you couldn't do these crossovers where these characters could interact. So it's just kind of a bad situation to be in, which is why I said when they teased the Red Death in Season 5, granted that was also pre-pandemic, I was like, that should be Oliver. And look, I think that they're doing as best they can with, what they have. I'm not saying they're doing a poor job of it, I just think that they were dealt a bad hand, and they're doing the best they can with it. The Allegra and Chester stuff I can do completely without. And look, that said about Javicia Leslie's performance, Javicia, I don't know how to pronounce her name. I've been meaning to look it up, but I don't know how to pronounce her name. But, say what you will about this show, but, I mean, look, both her and Grant are acting well above the material, and it's like they're so to speak, punching above their weight class and doing way better work than the material deserves. And I've said it before, anytime we get Grant have the opportunity to act in kind of opposite himself, it's always a good time. It's just kind of like the Last Temptation of Barry Allen, Runaway Dinosaur, the other episode where they went into the Speed Force in Season 3. It's like, anytime he gets the opportunity to just carry a scene, he can do it very well. And the same goes for Javicia Leslie. And the two of them are doing tremendous work here, and they're really carrying the show in a way that is, making it more watchable. Meanwhile, you got every other fucking subplot on this thing is just, like, nonsensical. It's like, I don't give a shit about Chester and Allegra's relationship. I don't know why the show thinks anyone does give a shit about Chester and Allegra's relationship, nor do I understand why in a truncated 13-episode season, which was the contract before they formed the writer's room on this season, why was that the thing that they decided to do a slow burn on in a 13-episode final season? The same goes for this nonsense with Joe and Cecile leaving. It's like, again, who gives a shit? It's like, because they're not going to leave before the end of the season, because they want to, let these characters have their swan song, so to say. And I think that having them leave before the end of the season would be a disservice to them. But at the end of the day, if we're watching this and we're like, oh, well, why are we doing this will they, won't they? It's like, and on top of it, too, it's like, I don't buy that Joe West would leave this apartment, like this house. I don't buy that. There's nothing about what's going on in this show that makes me think that he would leave this house that he's lived in for so long to go and do something else or live somewhere else. He 100% would be there until he died. And it's like saying like, oh, there are metahumans everywhere and want to give our daughter a normal life. I don't think that's enough of a motivation to be like, this has to, like, that's not enough of a motivation, I don't think, for him to be like, okay, well, we can't do this anymore. Like, we have to leave now. And it's like, as long as, Barry's there, it's like, look, people die in the city to metahumans on a fairly regular basis, but like, what, Keystone doesn't have these same, I mean, I guess not, because there's no TV show about Keystone City, but that said, it's like, I don't understand. I watch this and I'm like, this is such a nonsensical plot. And then for it to be resolved, we spent 4 episodes doing this, and for it to be resolved as like, okay, we're not leaving, it's like, well, okay, so all of that was a waste of time then. And it's just padding out the runtime. And it's like, there's other things you could do. And the same thing goes for, again, I think this season could have been benefited by it having new, by it having new, the truncated 13 episodes, but like, was it given a full, because I seem to recall when the announcement happened and they announced how much money they were giving Grant for the new season, I seem to recall it being like, I seem to recall it being like, the whole thing was about, he's getting this much money and it's a full season kind of order, like, and it's like, oh, cool, they're doing 26 episodes in that contract. And it's like, well, alright, so then they cut it down. So, like, were they given a full budget? Because, like, you have room then to do shit, and it's like, obviously, you're not using it. Maybe they're using it later in the show. Maybe they used it to get back Stephen Amell, who's obviously so busy, he keeps begging to come back and play the Green Arrow. Like, it's cumbersome is what it is, where I'm sitting here watching this, and I'm like, I don't understand what they're trying to do. Like, I don't understand the thought process behind a lot of this, where it's like, okay, so we have the Red Death here, and her motivation is, like, I love the way they define her motivation, where it's like, oh, well, I was, in this world, Bruce Wayne got killed, and I got adopted by the Waynes, and then they got killed, and then, or maybe they didn't have Bruce Wayne, and I don't remember the exact thing, but she ended up adopted by the Waynes, they get killed, she vows to never let what happened to her happen again. So, to do that, she sees what the Flash is doing and decides to use his speed to build the, to start stopping crime before it happens. And then the Flash gets mad and tries to stop her. She tries to hide in the Speed Force, and she gets spit out in this universe. Like, that whole thing is great. Now, I think we're going to get the reveal. Like, I don't know if they're playing Ryan Wilder as redeemable on purpose. Or if they're playing her redeemable, like, here for this reason on, like, okay, we want to, we don't really want to, like, I don't know, because there is a Ryan Wilder in this universe. You can play her as pure evil and not worry about it. Like, in the same way that, like, when they did Crisis on Earth X, it wasn't like, oh, and here's Overgirl, and here is the Nazi version of the Green Arrow, and they're redeemable. It's like, no, they didn't do that. They were irredeemable. Like, you can do that. That's fine. I just don't understand why they would, in this case, do it in this way. It just kind of feels a little silly to me, if we're being completely honest. Hopefully, it comes out that she's lying, because, like, that's what I want to see. I want to see her being like, oh, she was lying to try and convince them. But it's like, no, she's just pure evil, and, yeah, because it's like I love the idea of the dark multiverse, and I hope that that's what they're getting into a little bit. Even though, look, this universe is ending, not in terms of like they're going to destroy the universe, but in terms of just they're not continuing with the Arrowverse, because the CW is going to cease to exist shortly. But like I feel like there's definitely room to fix this and make it be a little better. But we'll wrap up there for today. Our next episode will be later today. It'll be a discussion of the movie Operation Fortune Rouge de Guerre, which I think that's how you pronounce it. But we'll find out, hopefully in the movie. If not, why the French subtitle? French subtitles are going to be the death of me. Between that and Joker next year. And then on top of that, we also have tomorrow, we will be doing 3 episodes tomorrow. Hands On with Switch Online Expansion. We'll be doing Triangle of Sadness, and we'll be doing... No, that's it. Just those 2. So until then, have a great rest of you.